Did the Chicago Bears get some unexpected good news? We'll explain what I mean by that coming up here on today's show. Excited for the Rams game? Hit that like button. I'm Harrison Graham. This is Chicago Bears Now. Could the Bears turn bad news into some good news as Ozzy Trapilo and TJ Edwards are out for the season after suffering season-ending injuries? Could their replacements actually provide some things that those guys specifically did not? I think the answer is yes, especially at linebacker, not as much at left tackle, but let's start at left tackle as it does appear to be Theo Benedet time as Trapilo is out for the year. He will be the likely replacement at left tackle. While Ozzy has been improving as a run blocker, I think Theo is actually the better run blocker. So that is an area where, yes, you'd much rather have Ozzy overall, but maybe this can help jumpstart the running game because Theo is he's a fluid athlete. He can move. He reached 16 miles per hour on that route they had him run this past week. So maybe you can run some of your toss crack game, get him out in space, and get to the second level. Remember, I'll never forget that block he had against the Bengals where he drove that guy like 10 yards out of bounds and just absolutely pancaked him. So I think there could be some elements of the run game you can try to bring back to life here. They've been trying to run in between the tackles a lot recently. Well, maybe you can get on the edge, run behind Darnell Wright, run behind Theo Benedet, get these athletic tackles in space because that's where Benedet really thrives as a player. He's not great in pass pro. So let's lean into what he can do well, especially on plays where you do want to run the football. Because this has been, since their bye week, one of the best rushing attacks in the NFL. And for a good stretch, they led the NFL in rushing for X amount of weeks. But the last 2 weeks, they have not been efficient on the ground. 3.6 yards per carry, only 65 yards in Week 18 against the Lions, who aren't exactly some elite defense. And then against the Packers, only 3.3 yards per carry. Couldn't even scratch 100 yards on 28 carries as a team. So I think in general, you want to reestablish your running game, but can Theo Benedet maybe actually help you do that? Because you can run behind your left tackle more frequently than you probably could under Ozzy Trapilo. He is athletic. You can get him out in space. You can pull him. So I do think in that area of this offense, Theo Benedet could actually help you out a little bit more than Ozzy Trapilo could. Now, I will say, just this is worth saying, Theo did play in that Week 18 game against the Lions when they didn't run the ball well in that game either. Now, it's one game earlier in the year when he was playing. They were running the ball really well. So I still think a lot of what I'm saying could ring true. But it is fair to point out, well, in the game he started most recently at left tackle, they didn't exactly run the rock great either. So we'll see what it looks like this week. But, in general, the way they profile, Theo is a better run blocker than Ozzy is, but Ozzy is a much better pass protector, which is why, of course, we would rather have Ozzy out there. Now, the same is kind of true with Braxton Jones. Historically, he is a better run blocker than pass blocker. Now, earlier this year, he just didn't look right. Remember coming off that ankle injury. He's never been a great anchor offensive tackle to begin with. He can get bull rushed a lot. He also looked a step slow in the run game, but you do wonder, having kind of sat down for 3 months, could he be refreshed? Could he have built back up that strength? If the Bears were to play him, I think they'll start Theo, but if Braxton gets out there, could he be a more effective run blocker as well? At minimum, he's a good luxury to have because he has started 44 games for you over the last 3.5 seasons. So, I don't think it's all doom and gloom after losing Ozzy Trapilo. You don't want to lose anybody, but you'd rather lose him than Darnell Wright. I mean, Darnell Wright's a second-team All-Pro this year at right tackle. So that's just the reality of the situation. And again, he will be missed. I wish Ozzy was playing because he had been really coming into his own. He had gotten comfortable at left tackle, which earlier in the year in the offseason, he wasn't. They moved him back to right tackle to be the backup, and he kind of got forced into action in the middle of the season, and he played well. And he had kind of earned that job and won that job and was going to be the guy moving forward. Now we don't know how long he's going to be out. How does that impact 2026? That part of it's not the purpose of this video. We're focused on the here and now. So it's definitely a bummer he went down, but I don't think it's like, well, the season's over because Ozzy Trapilo got injured. I think Theo can actually provide some things that maybe Ozzy did not. Now, pick a left tackle. Would you go with Theo Benedet, type TB, or Braxton Jones, who has played more games in his NFL career. I think you go Theo, at least to start, but I would expect Braxton Jones to be activated off short-term IR and be the backup and be ready to go if needed. All right, today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. Whether you're starting a new routine or making player picks for the first time, trying something new can be hard, but in life and on Prize Picks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure playoff matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never stops, and Prize Picks lets you take control. Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on Caleb Williams' pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns? Now you can, all in the same lineup, only on Prize Picks. The way you play is simple. You pick 2 or more players and choose more or less on their stat projections: passing yards, rushing yards, receiving yards, touchdowns, sacks, field goals, points, rebounds, assists in basketball, goals and assists in hockey, and soccer. It's all available. You can cross over sports in your lineup. I got a 3-player lineup for this weekend. Give me more on Caleb Williams' passing yards. He has been on a heater recently in terms of passing yards, so I think 229.5, that's a low number. Give me the more on that. Colston Loveland has gone for more than 90 in 3 straight games receiving, so give me more than 55.5. And then Puka Nacua, he's going to be a problem. So I think he scores a touchdown. $20 to win 85 on this 3-player lineup. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it is good to be right. Okay, let's talk the linebacker situation now with TJ Edwards out. One thing DeMarco Jackson undeniably provides that TJ Edwards simply does not is he has more speed, significantly more. Edwards has never been the fastest guy, and since he's been back from injury, he's felt even slower than normal. He's a very instinctive, very smart, very physical linebacker. TJ Edwards is. He's certainly a big leader on this team. But, he gets stuck on a fast player in space. It can be an issue. DeMarco Jackson can at least offer an athletic profile where if he's playing well, he can hold his own from a lateral movement standpoint. He can play sideline to sideline. That had been a problem in recent weeks for really both your starting linebackers, TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmunds. Edmunds at least has some length that can be a challenge for quarterbacks throwing over the middle at times. And don't forget, when Jackson started for about a month, he played pretty well. He was NFC Defensive Player of the Week after his performance against the Browns when he had 7 tackles, a pick, 2 pass breakups, and a TFL. He also had a game against the Steelers when he had 15 tackles. He was around the football a lot when he was playing. He played so well that when Tremaine and TJ got back together and played a couple games, it was like, are we sure DeMarco Jackson shouldn't get more run? Tremaine and TJ feel kind of slow. They don't feel healthy. Well, now DeMarco has to play. So we're about to find out if it's at least in the short term an upgrade, or at least can he hold his own? Can he at least be a neutral level linebacker as these games continue to mount in terms of importance? But I thought he stood out when he was playing, and I'm eager to see what he can provide. Now, look, there's things you're losing with TJ. He's good in the run game. He's a high IQ player, team captain level guy, green dot. You don't just replace that with some random player. Like this is a notable loss. There's no question about it. But I did not think the last 3 or 4 weeks since he's been back from injury that he had been playing that well. And it's because I think he's probably a little compromised. He's been dealing with multiple soft tissue injuries all year, kind of like Kyler Gordon, but not to that level. And it's probably compromised him from a just overall quickness standpoint. And again, you're not going to replace his leadership, but Tremaine's a good leader. You got Kevin Byard, you got Brisker, you got guys on that defense that can still carry you in that mold. So I think that the Bears can get by with what they have. If Tremaine can kind of build off that second half, thought he played better, even had a couple nice coverage reps. DeMarco gives you that speed. Eamon Ogbongbemiga had 14 tackles in a game earlier this year. Hopefully he can clear concussion protocol. I think there's a decent chance Jalen Reeves-Maben gets elevated to the active roster. I thought he gave you a couple of decent snaps. So, the only question is in base downs, who's your third linebacker? Do you go Ogbongbemiga or do you go Reeves-Maben? Because Noah Sewell's out for the year too. So now you're down 2 of your top, we'll call it 4 linebackers. So, how much do you play base? When you do, who's that third guy? Those are situations Dennis Allen is going to have to figure out. I would guess they're not going to play a ton of base. Maybe their base defense is just C.J. Gardner-Johnson's on the field with Kyler Gordon. I'm not sure, but they'll have a few days here to figure that out. But I'm eager to see what DeMarco Jackson does, and his speed could play a factor in this game because the Rams use a lot of 12 and 13 personnel, so you need linebackers that can run with tight ends. Okay, what do you think is the bigger loss? Who is the bigger loss, I should say, for the Bears? Type OT for Ozzy Trapilo or type TJ for TJ Edwards? I think I would lean Ozzy, actually, even though TJ is a more veteran-proven player. But I don't think either of these losses are like insurmountable adversity to overcome. I think they have guys who can step in and at least hold their own. If you lost Colston Loveland, that would be tough to replace. If you lost Darnell Wright or Joe Tooney, that would be a problem. Drew Dahlman. Ozzy Trapilo, he's your weakest of your 5 starting offensive linemen. Theo's played a decent amount, so is Braxton Jones. TJ Edwards, good player, but hasn't been himself recently. So I think the Bears are going to be okay here. And Ben Johnson, kind of just added this when asked about the injuries. He says, look, it's another one of these next man up situations for us. We've had a number of those this year. And look, this team has been kind of a team of unsung heroes all year. They've won several games due to random guys making key contributions. I mentioned DeMarco Jackson with a couple of huge games. Josh Blackwell, he blocks the field goal in Vegas. He recovers the onside kick against the Packers. Eamon Ogbongbemiga had a 14-tackle game. Jade Walker catches that 4th down touchdown from Caleb Williams in the Bears regular season game against the Packers at home to force overtime. Like, they've had dudes step up all year, and I think that's a testament to the coaching staff. The hard work, the belief in this team, and you're going to need it again in a couple of spots, and it's going to be tougher because it's the playoffs, it's the Rams, it's not an easy opponent, but again, I don't think it's like you're losing 2 of your top 5 players. You're losing 2 starters, but not necessarily like game-altering starters. I might be wrong. Maybe we'll watch Sunday and it's like, oh God, they really missed TJ Edwards, but with the way he'd been playing recently, I don't know if I really feel that way currently. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Chicago Bears Now. Hit the subscribe button. We'll be here all week long as we get you ready for Bears versus Rams on Sunday. Thanks for tuning in, and bear down.